so megaphony.
That's pretty. Hey, hey, hey! You say it like that, it sounds
Uh,
bad.
uh,
All right, so we are
yeah.
here Wednesday, April 10th. Woo! I think we're in like week 16 or 15. I don't even know anymore. I've lost track, but we're coming up on summer, so that's kind of exciting. Which means conference season is coming up too, and we're excited about that. So before we begin, I'm going to assume that you're going to click. You're just going to know when to click, Karen. She's like, yeah, I got this. Before we begin, your avatar, voice, text messages posted during the Extra Women event may be recorded and shared on social media and elsewhere. Speaking of conferences, could be something there. So please do mute yourself if you're not speaking. That way we can be cognizant of any background sounds. And have respect for our guest speakers. The presentations shared by our guest speakers are the opinions of the speakers and may not represent the views and opinions of XR Women. XR Women would like to thank AMXRA for becoming a bronze speaker sponsor. And that is, if I can remember the name, American Medical Extended Reality Associations. This is kind of a new journal thing that's come up in the past few months. It's the premier medical society for the advancing the science and practice of medical extended reality. It's kind of a important milestone is that, this is now an initiative that we're really talking about, a place for people to truly publish their work in medical XR. Now, if we just had a headset that you could log into or not have to log into, we'd be golden. Exciting. XR Women sponsorships. We have lots more opportunities for brand exposure, supporting diverse representation and intersectionality. So, there's some good spots right around here. You can see where your brand could be displayed. There's a lot of opportunities for you to get your logo places. So please do talk to one of us about becoming a sponsor. We have some incredible merch. I think there's another slide on this in a minute. Please do follow and subscribe. We're everywhere. We're in LinkedIn. I don't even know what that top left icon is. Instagram. Are we on TikTok? Why are we not on TikTok? YouTube. We're all over the place. And we do have some absolutely incredible merch and lots more to come on that. So look forward to hearing more about our merch coming up. I don't know if Julie wanted to say any words about that just yet, or are we saving that for next week?
I'm not sure if the slide was updated. Maybe Karen. So keep an eye out, everybody. We've got some new shirts coming, and we'll
Yeah.
be ready to share when they're ready. But that's the heads up on that one.
Yeah. We're definitely in the tease mode now. Like we've seen some exciting stuff, and we can't wait to share it with everybody. The XR Women Museum and Gallery is pretty much where we are. So definitely want to check this out and go roam around and look at the Hall of Women. Cool place to be. We are seeking artists for the fall and winter. Please contact Jenna. We have an email address there for that as well. And the XR Women Awards. So, speaking of conference season, that will be at AWE this year in June. I think it's 19th, something like that. Nominations are currently open for Real World Impact, Innovation, and Trailblazer. Get your nominations in by deadline is May 1st at 2 p.m. Pacific. So we have a AWE discount code as well. So if you're thinking about going to AWE, please do click on that. And I think it's 20% off if anyone wants to correct me there, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. We also have our Engage platform, our spatial computing showcase. It's still open. So if you didn't get a chance to check it out, or you kind of want to go run around it one more time or go play the show, you can pop in there anytime you want to. There's a play button now. Karen Alexander welcomes you into the environment and tells you where the button is. So that's kind of fun too. So definitely go check it out while it's still open. And the join session is MRGPL. So please do check it out. If you have any issues, you can contact us and we'll help you out. Coming up Wednesday, April 24th, the XO Women Gallery presents Infinite Canvas, a selection of works from Celeste Lear. Celeste is here today, so you can chat with her about that live. And on May 1st, we have the Exo Women Research Library launch, curated by Sarah Baker. And I got a little sneak preview of this last night. It's super fun in there. An upcoming schedule, April 17th, Leah Marie Werzinger. We have April 24th. We just mentioned this. The gallery presents The Infinite Canvas by Celeste Lear. May 1st, Sarah Baker. May 8th, Power of Community. May 22nd, Mary Matheson, transforming documentary filmmaking with immersive technology. So lots of exciting things coming up, and it's just going to get bigger and better and crazier until we get to AWE. So don't forget to really focus on how are we going to get to AWE and really help each other out. We're going to do, a lot of social sessions where we just try to get together and build this community so that when we're together at AWE, it can have a really big impact. Here's a slide for Lisa Marie. And here we are at Cathy Moya. So, Karen, did you want to introduce Cathy? Or do you want me to go ahead and do it?
Up to you, Robin.
Well, I can keep talking. So, Cathy, she's one of the elusive exo women in my world. Somehow we've never met. So, I'm excited to meet her today and hear what she has to say. Cathy has been at Microsoft since 2002, and she currently works in customer experience engineering, running the program that brings customers and engineers together to create better products like the Mesh Technology Adoption Program, sorry, TAP, Technology Adoption Program. That's kind of weird. Mesh Technology Adoption Program. She also has spent time at Microsoft creating courseware, writing specs, making endpoint management better, and designing the pieces of paper that come with your mice and keyboard. That's pretty crazy. She's a huge advocate for virtual reality and creates real human connection. So everybody, welcome Cathy Moya. Do, 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 do.
Thank you. Oh, gosh, I love the emojis here. All right. Here, get a little bit closer to the audience. So yeah, I'll leave my video on for a little bit because I really do like that we have this this option in Frame, and I am wearing my XR Women shirt. So there we go. So
Woohoo.
I have kind of an odd path into tech. I was actually a theater kid and a theater arts major at UCLA, but I always kind of sought out the tech in everything I did, and I loved it. And so I was a Microsoft certified trainer before I ended up at Microsoft. And as the intro said, I worked on a lot of different things. But I found VR in March of 2020 because I was at the time working on what we called our most valued professional, or MVP program, for a product called Microsoft Intune, which is endpoint management. And we were supposed to have our MVP summit where we brought MVPs from all over the world into Redmond in person. We did that every year. And it was supposed to be March 16th of 2020. And I was just in despair because I said, it's just not going to be the same if we have to bring people into teams, because the summit is more than just people sitting around and absorbing content. It's really about the connections that everybody made together in that environment. And I actually sat down and I wrote to the woman who managed the team's MVPs, and I said, gosh, what I really want is a virtual experience where people can sit in a virtual seat and talk to a seatmate and send emojis and rush the speaker. And I did not know that VR could do that. I didn't know it could actually do that right then, that day. And I didn't know that you could do it without a headset. And that was a huge game changer for me. About 2 weeks after the summit, I had a new coworker. She said, "Oh, you should check out this thing called AltSpace VR. I think Microsoft owns it." And I said, "I don't have a headset." She said, "I don't think you need one." And my first minute in AltSpace VR with people was like that scene in The Wizard of Oz when you go from black and white to color. And just whole world changed. So from then on, I've been in endpoint management and IT space for a very long time, for most of my 22 years at Microsoft. But I was determined that I wanted to get over there and work on alt space, which I never actually managed to do, but I did manage to get into Microsoft Mesh. And so I do also just want to kind of acknowledge the elephant in the room that I am also, as I said, someone who was very much in love with AltSpace, was very part of the community, and was very sad that I never got to work on it. It was very sad for the reasons that it closed. And Mesh is not AltSpace. There are some elements that have some similarity, but it's a very different approach to what we're doing here. So I want to just kind of start by doing some level setting and talk about what it is. And I can talk a little bit about where we're going, basically all the obvious stuff where you look at it and go, oh my gosh, yeah, we don't have public access right now. So a couple of people have said, oh, let's do a field trip, or let's go into Mesh right now. And it's like, not yet. As soon as we have that, I would love to have that available. I would love to make it one of the platforms that XR Women can use. We can talk about that when it's available and what the options are. But let me go ahead and I'm going to turn off my camera so I don't have too much bandwidth sucked up here. And let's make sure I can get my screen sharing. All right, is that working?
Yep, that seems to be working. For discussion at the end, we're on.
Yeah. So one of the things I really want to talk about, I want to go through the mesh part maybe a little bit fast, and I can definitely answer individual questions later. But I'm someone who found connection, who AltSpace got me through COVID, and not just AltSpace. I loved Frame, I loved Engage. I checked out all the platforms I possibly could. I ran events in Verbella, but I want to really figure out, how do I bring people in? Because what I found in all of the events that I've done is it's a real struggle to get people to show up. And so far, the two things that I've kind of found are, if I can have some kind of really compelling content, then I can get people who are willing to kind of slog through some of the overhead and challenges to get into the platform, but also just to overcome the inertia of like, what is this thing and what am I doing, and why do I have to go and do this whole different thing? And then once I get people in, I would find that there still may be like 5 to 10% at the bottom who are like, yeah, meh, whatever, I don't care. Most of the people, 80% or so, are like, oh, okay, this is really cool, I get this, I would do this again. And then I get like the 5 to 10% of the people who are like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever, I have to go and tell everybody. And I really live for finding those people. And that's, kind of what I really want to do right now. And I'm very fortunate that that's actually like part of my job right now, is how do I go out and turn people into enthusiasts for this space, for this kind of platform, for this kind of experience. So I want to talk more about that, but first I just want to talk about, kind of where we are with Mesh. And I have my LinkedIn down there, and you can also get to it in Frame. If you go and hover over the left strip, it has all of the attendees, and you can hover over mine. It'll give you a direct link there. Please mention that you're from XR Women. And I will definitely accept your friend request, and I would love to be able to talk more with you about Mesh, or about just this goal of how do we bring people into immersive spaces together. So, we've got some stats. This is part of one of our standard decks that we do here. We're trying to talk to business decision makers. We bring people into Redmond or into our tech centers around the world, and we talk about, hybrid and at Microsoft. I'm very fortunate that I don't have to go into the office. Even though I live 10 minutes from campus, I could stay totally remote. But I have a boss who really likes us to come in, and I'm so close, and so I get there. But I work with a very distributed team. We have people in Lagos, Nigeria. We have people in Cambridge, England. We have people in Dublin, Ireland. And so, trying to get everybody together is kind of important. And, we are definitely using Mesh. But I have to say, even within Microsoft, I struggle sometimes. Even within the Mesh team, I struggle sometimes to say, no, really, let's go do this in Mesh. Because we just aren't used to it yet. But we weren't used to long distance for a long time. Long distance, remember when long distance was a thing? Like it was a term that we actually talked about, and we had commercials about long distance. And then long distance is like everywhere, right? And then video conferencing was still some kind of weird futuristic thing until COVID, and people kind of went, oh, okay, like now even my mom can video conference. And so it's just, how do we bring that kind of ubiquity into everyday life here? So I think Microsoft Mesh really has a shot at doing this. We have 3 different experiences. One of them is just within your regular Teams meetings, you can be there as an avatar instead of as a video camera, or instead of just a little static picture of something. And I know some people think, oh, it's a little bit gimmick, but when I saw the progression here, I thought, oh gosh, this is brilliant. Because the next piece that we have is then you can take that avatar, and with literally 2 clicks, you can go right into Teams, into an immersive view. You don't have to install anything else. You don't have to create any kind of new account. It's just like right there. And it's available, and got some fine print on here. So mesh in Teams is what we're calling these, this Teams-based experience. In most SKUs, we do not support EDU because right now we just are not ready for kids. And I know not everybody in EDU licenses is kids, but that's just where it is right now for us. Please believe that we are working on this. We know that that's, we just had to get something out here. And so it is the commercial SKUs, M365, O365. We also don't support frontline worker. So that's designed for people who are like, just running the tablet at your retail clothing outlet. And then Gov, obviously Gov is, lags in a lot of these technology innovations. So by the time we're ready to be able to open up, maybe Gov will be ready for us. Even though I know, we definitely have had interest in Gov, but we've been talking about Mesh for a couple of years, and we just really had to ship something. So by the way, this just went to what we call general availability. One of our Microsoft terms, GA, was June 24th of 2024. So it's brand new there. And I know there are questions floating by. I'm going to come back and grab questions at the end because it's a little hard for me to kind of manage all of the screen sharing here. So Teams is just right there. You can go in, and I'll have a little bit more detail about that in a minute. And then we have the actual Microsoft Mesh standalone app. And that's the one that lets you build experiences in Unity. That's the one that's going to let you host larger events and do a lot more customization. And so for that one, that is part of what we call our Teams Premium SKU. If you don't have Teams Premium, then you can get a free 6-month trial for Mesh. It's not for Teams Premium. It is a 6-month trial for Mesh. And that will let you just access it, wherever you are in your environment. So if you work at a place that already has Teams, that's not EDU, not Gov, you probably have access to Mesh and Teams. And if you have Teams Premium, then you can actually just go download from store and you can start using it. You can start uploading worlds. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do there. So with the avatars, I know a lot of people think, oh, that's kind of gimmicky. Why would I want to use this in Teams meetings? But, one of the things that we've definitely found is it can help people feel more represented. Some people are not born with the body is how they see themselves. And so they can be that in avatar. And we've also had a lot of discussion about, well, should people be required at companies to make themselves look like they physically look so that people can recognize them more, or what kind of space do we have to bring that in, to bring in our own representations. So it's just part of Teams. Again, if you have the licenses, your admin may have to turn it on for you to be available. And even if it's turned on, you may have to go and actually install it as an app in Teams. So in Teams, you have this little thing down at the bottom left that is, installing all the different add-ins for Teams. And if it's available to you, it will be there, or it may just already show up there. And so you can go, you can customize your avatar. You can have up to 3 avatars. So I have my Friday casual avatar for when we go hang out in our virtual beach on the team, and I have my more professional. And then we're also experimenting, of course, with other types of ways to represent people. And pretty much anything you think, well, why don't you have this? It's like, yeah, we're probably talking about it, but just for what we have now. We've got some solid representation, and we're always working to do more. If you don't see things in there that you feel like really represent you, hairstyle, clothing, etc., please use the file feedback button. It's right there in Teams. There's a little way to send feedback, and we really welcome that, because the diversity and the inclusion and the representation really is important to us. So then, if you are in Teams, if you have one of those supported licenses, you click View and you click Immersive Space 3D. That's it. And okay, yeah, the first time, if you don't have an avatar, you got to set one up. So I really encourage people to just get the avatars working, because then you don't have to have people stop and do that extra overhead. We do have a couple off the rack avatars people can pick, and so you can just join in the space and then fix up your avatar later. And there are a couple of, like legal things that you got to accept, because it's Microsoft. But then once you do that, like, you're just in a virtual space. And in that environment, we just have a couple of environments that you can use. You can't do really any customization at this point, and you can't bring in your own custom environments. The custom environments is something that we get with the Teams Premium experience, because premium. So the default location that we have is called Lake House. And we've done an interesting thing here. Obviously we have spatial audio, but inside the purple zone that you see on the screen here, where it says, question station, team screen share area, what we're actually doing with that is creating a space that can be hybrid, so people can still stay in Teams gallery mode, but hear everybody who is inside the purple zone. And there is no spatial audio inside the purple zone. You hear each other at either end of it. And we've got a little icebreaker thing that says question station, so you can click that and have some things that come up. As soon as you step outside of that purple area, the people in the Teams gallery mode can't hear you anymore, but now you have spatial audio. And we have some interactables in there. So there's a fire pit where you can, yes, roast marshmallows. I know it kind of brings back some nostalgia there. There's a beanbag toss. There's a little musical sphere thing. And then the library area is just kind of a nice little sitting room. There is a radio in there if you want to have a little background music. And so that's the default that you get, just walking right in. And you can even do this alone. You don't have to go in with people. Of course, it's more fun with people. And then there's another one that you can change to called Oasis. And that one actually has a small and a large version. And then also in terms of seating arrangement, it has a lot of different seating. So if people need a more formal environment, like they actually want to hold meetings, that's kind of what the Oasis is designed for. But if you want to do custom stuff here and larger events, so the Teams experience is limited to 16 people total. That's all you can get. Now, I have done larger things like larger breakouts by creating multiple concurrent Teams events. And then, we all start in one Teams meeting, and then I say, okay, now everyone's going to go off to this other Teams meeting, and then we're going to come back, kind of like what we did before we had breakout rooms in Teams. But if you want to have something that was more akin to how AltSpace did it with the front row technology, we can mirror rooms across. So up to 200 people per event, but in rooms of 16. Do we want to make that bigger? Hell yes. Had to ship, had to get something out there, working on it. So we have two pre-configured environments. One is called Meadow, and that's kind of like an all hands kind of presentation space with a couple conversation areas. And then we also have the same Oasis space that you saw that you can get from Teams is available there. And you can customize those, and I'll show you a couple examples of things. It is Unity based, and so there is a mesh toolkit where you have a mesh uploader, and that's how you would bring in your different environments there. It's an M365 app. It's in the Windows Store. It's also available for Quest. We do support Quest 2, 3, and Pro now. And, this is all part of M365. It's just, it is an enterprise app. We are going where the people are right now with Teams, with SharePoint, with Outlook. So the toolkit, so there's a picture of our science fair exhibit. World Economic Forum has been using Mesh and putting together, great simulations showing people like the bottom of the ocean and what happens when one of those, those drag nets goes down there. Here's a space. We actually don't have whiteboards yet built in, but it is possible with something called a web slate where you can bring in some custom content. And we are definitely expanding our toolkit every time you turn around. So I really encourage you to, if you are one of the developers, to go and check that out. So here are a couple of events that I've run at Microsoft. I call myself the Mesh Cruise Director, and I look at my goal is to go out there and try to get everybody into using these experiences. So I've been talking with all of our employee resource groups, ERGs. So we have Asians at Microsoft, and I was talking with them, and they were interested. They said, hey, Lunar New Year is coming up. I said, hell yes. What do you want to do for Lunar New Year? And it turned out that someone on the mesh team is actually very into Tai Chi. And so she'd been working with one of our designers to develop a Tai Chi space. And when she found out that we were doing this, she actually worked, she was part of the Asians in Enterprise and Devices, which is the group that we are in at Microsoft. And she said, "Would you like to use this?" I'm like, yes. So this was totally customized. And then after the event, or after the environment was built in Unity and uploaded, the Asians at Microsoft staff went in and added additional customizations. So you can see there's a video player, and they went out to all of the Asians at Microsoft and said, "Hey, tell us how you celebrate Lunar New Year." And then we played those on a video, and they brought in pictures. And then we also we love using Kudos Board, which is a service where you can go and add literally kudos. And so we'll put those in the space, and then people can kind of leave their mark in the space. And another one that we did, as I told a lot of you about, Women's History Museum. So this was done in one of our samples that comes in our mesh toolkit. And then everything else was done with post-event customization. So I brought in over 70 images. We worked with our other employee resource groups. So Blacks at Microsoft, Women at Microsoft was the host, Military at Microsoft, Caribbeans at Microsoft, Gleam, our gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual organization. And we said, give us a deck about women we should talk about. And they came back with just PowerPoint decks. And then we turned those PowerPoint decks into images, and we posted those images all over the space. On the upper level, I even did a little bit of Copilot. So you can see, like over on the left, I would say, tell me about women in the arts that we should know about. And then I'd have Copilot spit out about 75 words, put it on a slide, use the PowerPoint designer, make me a pretty slide. But even though it was just PowerPoint, the comments that we got, people said, yeah, walking through this is a very different experience than having it presented to me or flipping through a deck on my own. The embodiment, the physicality, and being able to see other people walking through it at the same time really made a very different experience. So I mentioned, we are part of Microsoft. We have stuff built in. It will get more built in. Like right now, no, we do not support the Microsoft Whiteboard app. We're working on it. It's coming. But OneDrive, when I go to upload all that content, it's coming from OneDrive. When I send a meeting invite, it is going through Outlook. There is Azure Cloud Scripting available. It is all built with graphs. So when I'm in a meeting, if I click on somebody's name tag, it brings up all of the information that's already in our Entra Active Directory about these people. And one of the things that we hear over and over again from customers is they trust us. And haven't always, I admit, I started Microsoft 22 years ago. We were not always everybody's favorite. I know we're not always everybody's favorite now, but at least in terms of trustworthiness, we've really worked hard to, we say Microsoft runs on trust. And we do the security reviews, we do the privacy reviews. I have been through our privacy reviews, and they are painful, and they should be, because it's really important to us to not just follow the letter of the law, but to really be there in the spirit of, yeah, privacy matters. Quest devices are a bit of a challenge because they are consumer devices, and we're trying to bring them into enterprise space. So, so we've had some challenges that we're working with. We work with Meta, we work with the Intune team that I came from. I get to go back and work with all my old coworkers on Quest endpoint management. But it's, it is part of this Microsoft family, which we hope will make it easier for these business decision makers to say, okay, well, let's try it out then. So just running back through the licensing again, and the devices. So yeah, we do PC and Mac. If you want to do just the avatars in Teams, we do not support mobile Teams yet or web-based Teams yet. Obviously, we want all these things to come. Immersive Spaces in Teams also is on PC and Mac, and will work on Quest 2, 3, and if you use the Pro in compat mode, it's Quest there. We have officially announced that we will support Apple Vision Pro this year. And I don't have any more details about timing on that one, but it's definitely on the roadmap here. If you want to install the Mesh app and do the custom experiences, for that, it is just PC at this point. We don't have Mac. We want that. And then the Meta devices. And we don't have web yet, like this beautiful Frame that we're in. We don't have mobile yet, like Frame does. All of that, definitely stuff that we want to do. And then I have specifically spelled out over here the licenses. If your company or if you own any of these licenses, then you can use it. But again, it only works in a single tenant. So even if I go and I set up a Teams meeting with Callahan over there, and we want to go into the mesh immersive experiences, it doesn't work with guest access, even if I have her like a guest as in the Microsoft tenant. We are working on that. And so, we'll have kind of a progression that we'll roll out to eventually, of course, we want to be able to support public apps. And if somebody wanted to, you could be the platform that is a general public square like Altspace was, and invite people in. Christian, Christian Klesner from HoloLux has actually been doing some public events in Mesh, but they have to go and they have to set up all the accounts and, bring everyone in, have all the licensing. So Microsoft Mesh, Teams Premium, or a 6-month free trial is available. And, if that's a barrier, come talk to us. We're a business. We got to make money. We got to show value here. But if it's a barrier to getting people to adopt, have your execs talk to our execs. The Microsoft M365 conference, which is not hosted by Microsoft, it's a community event, but it's going to be happening in Orlando in May. And our execs will be there. If there are execs who want to talk to our execs about why are you doing this? What's your strategy? How can we get into this? Let me know. Ping me. We can set up executive meetings. We're happy to do that. So almost done here, so we can get to some discussion. But if you have it, if you're at one of these companies, just go into Teams, just try it out, bring people in. If you have Teams Premium or the 6-month trial, you create an event by going to mesh.cloud.microsoft, and then anybody who also has a Teams Premium license, you have to have a license to create an event, to upload environments, and to join events. But once you have that, then you can get the app, you can go in. So, okay, I know there are a lot of questions, and we want to get some discussion going here. And good, I was able to leave plenty of time for this one. So I don't know, what's the best way to do questions in Frame? I know that there's a lot of stuff going by in chat, so if anybody wants to summarize that, or if people just want to, is there a raise hand in here? I forget.
There's an I have a question
Oh, okay, great.
And someone does have a question. It looks to me like it's Sarah B.
Okay, go for it, Sarah.
Hi, Cathy. First of all, thank you so much. This is
excuse me, Sarah, can you turn on your megaphone so we can all hear you?
sorry about that. Hi. First of all, Cathy, thank you. I really appreciate you being here, and I really appreciate your enthusiasm a lot. I just wanted to ask you. So I'm currently doing some stuff for my degree, and reading a lot of research. Reading a lot of peer-reviewed studies within the last 3 years. And I have sensory sensitivity, so I can't be in VR for more than 20 minutes. Your question when you first came on, or it wasn't a question, maybe a statement, but you're excited about onboarding people. I really am too. And I'm just wondering, how much do you guys, look at the research?
Oh, a lot.
The psychological research. Great.
Yeah, we have PhDs. We have the whole Microsoft research organization within the larger company looking at all the stuff.
Great. And they're looking at neurodiversity as well, right? They're looking at people that have, autism or sensory sensitivity, things of that nature as well.
Yeah, we have a whole ERG of disabilities at Microsoft, which unfortunately they lump. Actually, is it disability? I forget what it is. But yeah, ADHD, autism, sensory processing disorders. Yeah, all of that stuff is hugely important to us as a company. Especially, Satya had a son who was disabled, and boy, I saw a huge shift in the company after Satya took over the reins in how we look at accessibility and and diversity.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
No. Great, thanks. So Caroline is up next for her question. And so Caroline, can you turn on your megaphone, please?
Sure, thank you. My question might be a little bit more of a future question, and it's totally fine if it's unknown at this point, but I'm really interested in how does Microsoft envision the interaction with all of the Word, Excel, all the things that so many people have been just ingrained with. And I know that there are interoperability options now with share screens and things. But
Mhm.
given that AI has this other sort of peak that's happening, can you describe at least what the thinking is around how that might work? Let's say not just for AI driven, create a spreadsheet for me using audio, using voice, but if you've got a device on your head or something, or you're on your computer, is this something that they're going to create within the spaces in Mesh that will be more in depth than just, hey, I'm going to put that Word doc, or maybe that's a question with SharePoint. I don't know, but I'm just really curious about how documents, spreadsheets, how the inner workings of people creating them while they're in the spaces, or is it just too early to envision what that might look like? I hope you
It's
understand
not
my
too
question.
early to start the envisioning. I mean, it's definitely stuff that we talk about. Like why just show a Power BI graph on the screen? What if you could wander through the data itself? How do we more embody the data? And like, yeah, the PowerPoint slides were great around there, but how do we break out even of just, that PowerPoint frame and bring people more experience of things? So yeah, it's still early on in terms of AI and where we're going. We have, if you go to mesh.com, we have a video up there, which is very aspirational that I think we put together just for the Ignite conference that was last November about all the cool things that we might be able to do with AI in Mesh someday. We don't do those yet. But it is very much something that we talk about, we think about. To Sarah's question, we do look at the research, and another reason why we said, hey, let's just get this out the door, even though we know it doesn't have everything people need, is because we want to hear from you. What do you need? What your ideas? And just like people weren't really thinking about Netflix when we finally got AOL and MSN and public internet access, but there are going to be opportunities that come up, and we're really poised to be able to look at those. And we have this inside track of being able to say, great, yeah, we have this whole productivity suite. How do we make people more productive with it rather than just projecting it on a screen? But yeah,
Right.
too soon to be able to say, hey, guess what, we're going to do this.
Right. And just to be clear, right now, when you're in the space and you want to access a document that you haven't accessed, are you just literally just going to another tab, copying it and putting in your frame of like on the share screen? Is that how that's happening?
Yeah, so there's screen share in both the Teams version and the standalone mesh. And so you can definitely share your screen. There are web slates that you can bring into the standalone mesh, which gives everybody kind of like their little individual view. So you could like set up a table that had a little web slate at each one, and then everybody could pull up their little spreadsheet and look at it in there. um,
Got it.
not
Got
saying
it.
that is what we think is a great
Sure,
interaction and
sure.
where we
No,
want to
no,
go long
no.
term, but
Right.
it will get you to some of that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, it looks like Nikki Slaughter has the next question. Nikki, can you turn on your megaphone and ask your question, please?
Sure thing, thanks. So I've been excited about my workplace UI
Oh yeah. Mhm.
adapting MS Mesh ever since the avatars were released for Teams meetings. And so I'm not sure if you discussed this earlier, but I'm curious as to how people who are trying to advocate for this in their workplace can get more involved, and if there's maybe a way to find out, say, who my EY Microsoft Mesh liaison is that I can go to and find out how I can advocate and get more involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you ping me in LinkedIn,
Okay.
or private message me here. Yeah, Ernst and Young is definitely in close conversation with us, and yeah, we got people there, so we can do a little connect the dots with that. But yeah, that is part of the question. And what I'm finding is kind of like panning for gold right now is how do I find the people inside of other companies who also are in a position to be the cruise director to help their company really start adopting this. I want to find that 5 to 10% I talked about who get in and go, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. Why isn't everybody using this? Let me help everybody use this. So
Right.
if
Yeah.
you are one of those people, or yeah, can help me find them, please. My inbox is open.
Okay, great. Yes, I will get in touch then.
Please.
Great, and everyone, if you go to the people button on the top left of your screen, if you're on a computer, you will see that for those who are signed in, their LinkedIn profiles are clickable next to their name, so you can do that. Also note that the I have a question button is in green at the top. It's just a little to the left of the middle for me. You can use that to raise your hands. And then when you do ask your question, oops, please do what I just now did, which is to turn on your megaphone so that everyone can hear you, because there is spatial audio by default here in Frame. So who has another question? I guess I'm curious, Cathy, about your a little more of your personal journey into mesh and your career in general at Microsoft.
Yeah, it was kind of strange ending up here because really it was through that endpoint management. We had a product called Systems Management Server, and I was a Microsoft certified trainer, and that was what I specialized in. And they were writing a course for what was supposed to be SMS 2002, and it was 2001, and I had just had my daughter, and I was training, which can be awkward because I was nursing, and I couldn't travel to LA, where our home office was for the training company I was in, Quick Start Technologies. And they were talking about making me travel down there. And it's like, but I got to bring my kid, and we can't afford, because my husband was doing the stay-at-home dad thing at that point, so we were on one income. And then Microsoft came over and said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming to work on this course?" And I said, "Why, yes, I would." So I was a vendor at first, working on the course, and then they canceled they postponed mesh, and so they also postponed mesh. They postponed Systems Management Server 2002. It eventually came out in 2003, but they said, "Hey, we'd like to hire you full time to work on security courseware." And I said, "I don't know anything about security." I said, "We'll teach you." So I learned a lot about security, and worked on courseware, and then an opening opened up on the SMS team, and so I went there and I worked on what then became System Center Configuration Manager through that entire release cycle, and then I just got like really burned out, and so that was when I went to hardware, where I worked on those little pieces of paper you throw away with your mouse and keyboard. So for like 3 years, if you bought a Microsoft mouse or keyboard, you held something in that period. It was like around 2008, 2009, in that area. That I didn't do the artwork, thank God, I can't draw, but I had an artist, and I would write the text, and I would think about the layout, and also work on the out-of-box experience. So that flat mouse that bends? I actually sat in people's living rooms and dining rooms and offices and watched them take that mouse out of a prototype mouse out of a prototype box and set it up. It was fascinating. And then I went to Internet of Things, and then I went back to Configuration Manager, and I was there for Intune and Configuration Manager, and then it became Endpoint Manager. And then, like I said, I had that Wizard of Oz moment where I found VR and went, "This is my life."
Great, thank you so much. Who else has a question? I'm sure some of you do. Oh, Sarah B has another question.
I know I could go on forever, so if somebody else does, otherwise I'll take the opportunity.
Please try your megaphone again. I realize I didn't do it either.
Sorry about that.
Remember,
Yeah, sorry. I'm very chatty, so I'll try to make this quick. And again, Cathy, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really like hung up on the adoption, because that's me too. And I was an adult educator for 20 years, and really trying, adopting, I think any new technology is extremely difficult. I saw that with my colleagues when we were with COVID and had to put everything online. It's really slow. And I think that technology is very intimidating. I found that as an educator. So I just really had more of a comment, that to me, from a psychological perspective, I really love like what Dr. Dayton is doing, or, actually going out to the people and actually sitting with them and talking to them face to face, because I think that this technology is very, very, feels very inaccessible. There's a really great study that Skip Rizzo and a bunch of other people just did about why are people not accepting this technology? And a really big one is just the intimidation. Yeah, XR Guild, check it out. I keep it current. Okay. It's all within 3 years. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out, and thank you so much.
Yeah, adoption is really where we are right now. So I just put a link in there. That is Mesh adoption page. There's actually a whole site, adoption.microsoft.com, that was built up as a community thing, and Mesh is up there. I own that page, that content. So, and I'm writing some of that content based on my experiences. We're getting ready to do a big refresh of that, probably the end of April. And so if you are trying to drive adoption of this product, whether UI or wherever you are, and saying, "Hey, it would really help if we had X," ping me. I will get the people together. We will write X. We will put it up there. But yeah, it's really trying to bring people in, and just kind of going back to the big question here, like, how do we do that? We are the believers. We see it. We value it. We're up in that 5-10% of, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. How do we get people to use it? So I mentioned, one thing was working with our ERGs. And so like we have a Juneteenth celebration coming up that one of my coworkers is putting together with a bunch of allies. And I'm saying, I think that will be a good one because people will say, oh, Juneteenth, I really should go to this. And then, we have a moment to both educate them about Juneteenth and educate them about mesh when they're in there. But also when it comes from the top down, like if it's an all hands or an AMA that the execs are running and there's kind of the expectation, like, yeah, people will do it. I would say the most amazing and the most disappointing event that I ever went to in any VR platform was when the SharePoint community put together a 20th birthday party in AltSpace. And it was in, just like the old auditorium, remember that old, like where we did the comedy shows, whatever, the stage. And they had every single big name. They had Dan Holmes, they had Jeff Teeper, who is now my boss. They had everybody. And people were showing up in that default avatar with little hands at their side. So I know they were coming in on PC and they were in there for the very first time. And it was phenomenal programming, but there were still issues with the videos playing and sound and things like that. So that wasn't the disappointing part. The disappointing part was I saw people on Twitter saying, hey, I see you over by the popcorn machine. Hi. But they never unmuted us during the entire program until the very end. They gave us back our voices and they gave us snowballs. That was my favorite moment of the whole conference. And so when I talk to people about this, when I work with our companies that I'm trying to get to help adopt this, I tell them, don't just bring your ordinary meeting in. You have to think about, why are you doing this? And it could be, yeah, you want to do your own hands, but let people talk to each other, damn it. Have an intermission, have time at the beginning, end a little bit early so there's time at the end for people to talk to each other, because it's that connection. And when I go to do an event, like my standard event, and this is going to be up on the adoption page soon, is I bring people in through Teams because it's the easiest. It's 2 clicks, it's not hard. And we can talk a little bit about what mesh is first, and then we get them in there and we show them how to walk and talk and how to do some fun things like, the emojis in there. And then I break people up into one-on-one conversations, because then they get the spatial audio and they get, oh, human connection. And then we play a game. It's called like this or that, or would you rather? And I say, okay, if you would rather own a cat, stand over on this side of the space. If you would rather own a dog, stand over on this side of the space. If you like cats, or if you like both, you can stand in the middle here. And that helps people embody the space and see, oh, this is why it's different than Teams. And just doing those few things, I find, tends to give people a really good first-time experience in there.
I love that example. Yeah, I think that's really great. I think Dot Cannon has our next question. Dot, if you can please turn your megaphone on to ask your question.
Yes, thank you for a great presentation. I have 2 questions. I'll make it quick. I'm wondering about the incorporation of a physical object into Microsoft so that we could interact with it. If, for example, we're teaching a hands-on workshop, I wonder if that's a possibility. And my other question was whether you had a timeline on incorporating EDU.
A timeline incorporating what?
EDU, on incorporating.
Oh, EDU. Yeah, I can't talk about any timelines. Those are above my pay grade. But I can say that, yes, we want to do this as soon as we possibly can. And then incorporating a real object. Are you talking about doing an augmented reality kind of experience? Or are you talking about bringing like a 3D representation into a mesh space?
More like bringing 3D representation in. Specifically, what I do is I teach workshops and I teach hands-on, which has been a mess with the pandemic. So I'm kind of wondering about that.
Yeah, so we don't currently support 3D objects. We can bring in right now videos and images, but in my, inside stuff, yes, I've done 3D objects, and we're working on it. It's, I will say one of the other frustrations I tend to run into is, unlike some platforms where I can just instantiate objects into a space that an event that's already happening, currently in Mesh, you have to do all of your customization prior to the start of the event. It does kind of throw gears and throw wrenches in my gears when I'm trying to run events. I have to think very carefully about how I put things together. But I have been very vociferous in my feedback about that, and others have as well. So, again, on the list of things that experiences that we know definitely need improvement.
Thank you.
But yeah, bringing in 3D objects, we know that's a huge use case of people coming together, and we've seen some really fantastic things that people have done. Even just with building things in the Unity environment, even though it's something that has to be baked in, not something that is brought in, but the bringing in is coming.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, Kelly Fay has our next question. Kelly, please unmute and turn on your megaphone.
Hello? Oh no.
I hear you. I think we hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm thrilled. So thank you, Cathy, for your presentation. And I'm thrilled to be here. It's been way too long. And thank you, Jen and Karen, for helping me navigate back. It's been way too long. Anyways, thrilled to be here. I am definitely a 5% adopter, Cathy. I sent you a LinkedIn invite, and I was thrilled to hear about Mac, because I wasn't sure if Mac was compatible or not yet. And I just wanted to circle back to EDU, because I work at a uni, and we have some programming with students that I would like to bring them into Mesh, because we do have Microsoft, we are Microsoft Office and Teams. So at this point, I just need a meeting room. So
yeah, and there were some interesting things. I had some inside stuff that I can't share, but I'm really hoping that we get there. We know it's a barrier. We have some educational institutions in our early adopters program that we've worked with, because they have other licensing that they can use for that. It's just specifically the EDU licenses that we aren't supporting right at this moment.
at all.
Not at all, no.
Okay.
But we're working on it. We are working on it.
Okay. Well, I'd still love to meet if you're up for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if so, I will just drop this as a general comment. If anyone can suggest a platform, because oh, okay, that would be great. I do need a private room. So okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kelly. Okay, who else would like to have a question? We've still got a lot of people here in the space, and I'm sure there are things you want to ask. Don't be shy.
Well, and also, if you want to make a comment about this, how do we bring people in? Have you run events that have brought in people who are brand new to immersive tech, and what have you done to help smooth the way? I definitely have like my little script of things I go through. When I am doing a meeting for the first time, even back in AltSpace or Verbella, I always started where people were. So like if people were Zoom users, I would start in Zoom and then we'd give them the information, kind of do a pre-flight check, and then we would go into the immersive space. If, Teams users, I would always start in Teams, because I didn't do that at first. And then I found out, oh my gosh, like you talk about a leaky funnel. I didn't even have a funnel. I had people who just like didn't even show up because they just didn't even know where to start. So I did some table topics. I think Callahan was there when we did these in 2021 for Ignite. That was all virtual. And I had like 100 MVPs all helping bring people in. And we all started in a Teams meeting, which is great because the Ignite infrastructure was already set up to bring people into a Teams meeting. And then we could go through the check, and then I would give them the link into the AltSpace meeting. And then I had MVPs there to greet them. And I have a whole little kind of mental script, and I've actually written this out now that I can share with you as part of the adoption materials. It'll be on the site soon, to say, okay, here's how you greet people. Here's what to look for. Here's how you do your troubleshooting. And then my goal was to have multiple conversations already going in the space. So I had MVPs in there who were just there to talk to each other. And then as people would spawn in, they would hear, oh, there are conversations. And I had people who were there to matchmake and say, hey, why don't you go talk with these people?
Yeah, that's great. And I do think we need to scaffold people's experiences and take into account what they have done before, what they've experienced before, if anything. And so, start off slow and gentle. I do like that, having people on some other just video based platform, and then bringing them in and helping them get in if they need it. Caitlin Krause has some interesting thoughts about being a guide for people going into these other spaces. Really, really sort of powerful stuff that she has to say about that. But I want to give Trisha the opportunity to ask her question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, great presentation. Thank you so much. It's more, I agree with this pre-flight. I kind of call it a soft landing. The majority of people that I have tried to bring into spatial, I have a world there called My Third Bloom, have never ever been in any of these spaces before. And
Oh,
like
Trisha, can you turn on your megaphone?
can you hear
Sorry,
me?
I forgot to ask you to do that.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no, I was saying, I'm not sure if you heard me with the comment about, I appreciate what you said as it relates to this pre-flight. I call it a soft landing. Most of the people that I have invited to events, and as I continue to host events, they've never been. And meeting people where they're at as a change practitioner is so important.
Yes.
I do find that it takes time, right?
Yes.
If you're doing it by yourself, if you have some support people in your network that can help you, that's important. Doing it solo takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it in the end, because then they can talk about their experience and share it with others, and are excited to come back because you've just opened up a whole new world to them and removed that anxiety of, I don't know how to move, I don't know how to change my avatar. It can be very, very overwhelming. So as
Yeah.
part of adoption, that pre-boarding, pre-flight, soft landing, you know what I mean, meet me at the gate.
Yes. Yes.
Come
Yeah,
get your
and
boarding pass before you take off.
yeah, gamers are great. Gamers. Brought my husband at alt space, and he just went for his WASD keys, and he was fine. I'm not a gamer. I got my head stuck in alt space like this, and I tried exiting. I came back in. I was still stuck like this. It took me like a couple hours to figure out what to do. So yeah, it can be very, very off-putting for people at first. And people have different levels of sensitivity. I'm pretty good with uncanny valley. I'm not overly sensitive. My husband has a much higher threshold for that, and also has ADHD, and so the audio distraction of the background voices is hard for him. Whereas for me, I think there's like a neurodiverse thing where I need that background hum.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for answering. You said you would be sharing the adoption notes or script. Did I catch that right, or is that
In
gonna
the
at a later
chat.
date? Okay,
Yeah, I
maybe.
put the link in the
Yeah.
chat. You can just go to adoption.microsoft.com and then pick Mesh from the list of products. But I gave a redirect link that'll take you directly to the Mesh adoption page.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
yeah, so that's where we're trying to figure out, like, what do we need to tell business decision makers? What do we need to tell the change management people? What do we need to tell the end users? What do we need to tell your IT pros so that people can start using this?
Love that. Thanks a lot. Great work.
Thanks.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I just want to briefly address Callahan. So this is a rendering feature. We have turned on level of detail here. If you get closer to the stage or to Cathy, you will see her avatar. Yeah. Yeah, we did this just because there are so many assets in this space, and
Yeah.
yeah, so we needed that. But I see that Sarah Barker has another question, and Cathy, we're basically at time right now. But as long as you are willing to stay, or at least for another
Yep.
half hour, I'm willing to stay as long as you are, and in case others have questions. So up to you. Just make the call.
Yeah, I'm here, and I would love to go through the chat transcript. I want to read everything that y'all were typing furiously in there. So yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Callahan may have something to say. She's been typing a lot there. But another question from Sarah.
Actually, it was more like I wasn't sure if what you were asking was you were actually putting the question to us or if it was
Yes.
rhetorical.
Oh,
Okay, great. If it
like
was
you
not
do have ideas.
rhetorical, okay, great. Maybe I'll share something that I actually just
Yeah.
wrote a blog post. Again, media psychologist here.
Mhm.
So I've been teaching body scanning. I'm a hardcore meditator, and I won't bore you with what I do, but I've been teaching meditation in VR now for close to a year. And one of the things that I just discovered, I've been having a hell of a time onboarding. Meditation's hard to onboard anyway. It's very mysterious to
Yes.
people. But what I'm learning, and I just wrote a huge blog post about this because I think it's so fascinating what they're doing, is Meditation Mind has a Discord channel with people from all over the world that meditate. As a psychologist, I go in there and try to help people that are really struggling. But where I'm going with this, let me get back to it. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Is that I'm finding, and I think from what I'm observing as a psychologist, what they're finding is that if you bring in more digital platforms like Discord, keep your camera on, once again, trying to keep that face to face, we really shouldn't be having our camera off. There's no psychology that suggests that's a good idea. So finding more and more ways to actually see the person that you're talking to is really important. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I think the frame thing is really interesting. Like I can turn on this webcam, so you can see me. Although I do try to like keep my avatar animated. And unfortunately, Sarah, I clicked connect. I saw you on LinkedIn, and I clicked connect, but then I had like a double click accidentally, and so it unconnected. So I didn't want to unconnect with you. We'll connect. We'll figure it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to turn this off though, just because I know my bandwidth can get a little sucky sometimes. I'm doing this from home. What else? Was there something you said in chat that you want to surface, or a question that you put in there that hasn't been answered?
Yeah. Let's see. Trying to find another one here. In the chat, I don't see anyone with their hand up yet. There we go. Somebody has stepped up, and that someone is Natasha. Turn on your microphone and your megaphone, please, Natasha.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Cathy. And
Hi.
hi, everyone at XR Women. So excited to be here always. Thank you so much, Cathy. You and I have actually met.
Yes, I remember.
Yes. And I was so excited that you were going to be talking today. So, of course, I came to listen. But yeah, so when we were, talking about deployments and well, this isn't about mesh, but we're about to roll out and deploy another XR for our engineering department, and it's interesting because we're having a sales conference where we're going to be demonstrating that particular platform, and about the onboarding thing and that funnel is very challenging. It's honestly like herding cats right now. And
yeah,
I guess we're trying to get everyone making sure their laptops are set up, their avatars are set up, they're all signing up for sort of a fundamental training. So that's really interesting, and that'll be on their laptops, and on the day we'll get them all into VR headsets, and that's 100 people in one day, and most of them haven't used VR before. So we'll have to check back and tell you all how that went. But
yes,
as a next step to that as a business, and we have this this philosophy or this new program where we're talking about one TNA and getting everybody together and feeling, because we're spread globally all around the world. And so I think we that mid-May is when we'll start back with mesh and try and get this like more connected business, greater business, all our staff having access and trying to get avatars and get set up, because the first thing we're implementing is more specific just to the engineering pipeline, but this will be more a social connector. So yes,
yeah,
so it's coming up and we're super excited, and everybody we talk to about XR, VR, everybody is really excited, and so yeah, so it's coming, and we're so excited, and thank you guys for pushing this.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Because all of the different contributions, I've learned so much. Unfortunately, I can't come to these as often as I would like because I have a lot of customer meetings in the mornings now, a lot of time zones. Um, but coming here and hearing the variety of experiences and touring the worlds and just seeing the amazing use cases. And Natasha, I think of you every time I think about child avatars. Like, yeah, because I know you that was something that was a real struggle even in alt spaces. How do we represent kids?
Yeah.
Because it's just I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, it's not appropriate to give, like even a 13-year-old access to, some of the digital makeup we've got going on here.
Right. But thank you, Cathy. It was good to connect again.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point about the kids. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and just needing all the controls, there's so many more things you need to do. And we don't have the guest access right now. And we one of the things that we know is going to be really important is once we get that, it also means we have to have more moderation controls. Because
Mhm.
it's just like you in a small group of people, everyone's probably going to be well behaved. But I, I am willing to bet that there is not a woman in this room who was in alt space or some other platform on some platform been sexually harassed as an avatar, because it was just really awful. And we need the protection bubbles and things like that. And it'll all come, and the ability to kick people out. But for now, since it's small scale, small events, I haven't had to worry
Well,
about that yet.
it's still stirring a conversation even behind the scenes. So
Oh,
stay
is it?
tuned. Let's have a Wednesday, and we'll talk about building for children in XR.
Yeah.
Because that's happening, and it's happening faster than we can all stay on top of it. So now's the time to all have a voice on how
Yeah.
things are being built, right? And thank you,
Absolutely.
Cathy, for coming today, and stirring this conversation that will lead us into further learning together. So really appreciate your time, and everybody who stayed. It's 10 after 1. Thank you. Thank you again. Appreciate it. Appreciate you.
Yeah. I love this community. I love what you folks have put together. It's so important.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Yes, Cathy, you've been coming to our events since for a long time, since we were
Yeah.
in for Bella and the iLearn campus.
I'm sure we
yeah.
have an iLearn avatar out there too for you.
I'm sure we have a picture. Yeah, I'm sure we have a picture of her in her
Yeah.
island avatar. Yes, as we do many others of you. It's nice to have, and people come back. Kelly Faye was saying she hasn't visited us for quite some time, but she came back today, and that's the way it is. People's schedules change, or they have other things going on, and still, it's great to see our old friends when they return. Yeah, so we don't have any more questions in the queue, but Cathy is still here and may still be willing to
Yeah.
take another one or two if anyone
Yeah.
has.
Or I can just come off of the stage and we can do the mob the
Ah,
speaker.
yeah.
We got the
Maybe we
code.
can just do some hangouts.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll come over. Let's talk.
So why don't we officially close off today's meeting so Jenna can come out off from the middle of the world here. And I hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see everybody next Wednesday. Thank you,
Yay.
Cathy.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Cathy. This was wonderful.
All right. I'm going off.